Hi everyone, and welcome to Exploring the Build. If you just found this place, then welcome, and if you're returning, I'm glad to have you back. I'm Alex, and this is my channel where we explore and theory craft different character builds for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Today, we're doing another quick build. We'll be exploring a briefly summarized build for Dungeons & Dragons, and as always with quick builds, if you have any suggestions for a build that you'd like to see in the future, be sure to let me know in the comments below. The concept that we are building around for our video today is an Astral Wanderer. That is something that is a bit like the Horizon Walker Ranger, only to the next extreme. We want to build an actual ranger type character that is capable of wandering and traversing the plains and doing various ranger things like protecting the boundaries between wilderness and civilization, or just plains and interlopers or trespassers on those plains, but on an actual wide scale. The Horizon Walker is meant to protect the material plane from interlopers that are from outside the material plane, such as celestials, aberrations, fiends, even fae, or potentially undead. What we want is a character that is not meant to just protect the material plane, but is actually meant to travel to other planes, explore, and be a capable wanderer or ranger on those planes, and then technically prevent invasions from those planes in particular. That would technically be like fiends entering the upper planes, or even celestials entering the lower planes. We want to be a true guardian of the planes, or just an astral wanderer. Starting in character creation with our lineage, we're going to be a custom lineage just to get a free feat, but really this character concept should work with any lineage in particular, so you can feel free to choose whatever you would like. For custom lineage, we're not really going to worry about our size too much, so you can pick to be either medium or small, and same with dark vision or the skill, we could reasonably choose either of those to get. We don't really need one or the other. For our free feat, we're going to want to pick a feat that boosts our wisdom in particular. That way we can start off with a really high wisdom score, because that's kind of going to be key to this character. I'm going to say that we're picking observant, but you could pick any other half feat that boosts wisdom, or at least can boost wisdom. Plus, I think the observant feat will help our Astral Wanderer be better than normal in various exploration situations along the various planes that are out in the D&D multiverse, because getting a flat +5 to a passive investigation, which I guess is rarely used but could be helpful, and a +5 to passive perception is probably going to be pretty necessary when you're going up against things like fiends, aberrations, or celestials along the other planes. For our background, nothing really matters technically. However, because we want to be an Astral Wanderer, a background that is kind of tied to the astral plane in general, or at least tied to the D&D multiverse, would be appropriately fitting. So pick your favorite of those. For our stats, like I said, we're going to want a strong wisdom score, and the other ability scores aren't too important. You can rearrange them however you want, but for our build, after using point buy, we're going to want the following: 8 strength, 14 dexterity, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, 18 wisdom, and then 10 charisma. We get to 18 wisdom by putting the +2 from custom lineage into wisdom, along with the +1 from observant. Starting at the actual level breakdown of the build, for levels 1 to 7, we're going to be a ranger. We know we're going to be a ranger because we want to be an Astral Wanderer and do ranger things as that Astral Wanderer. We're going to pick Horizon Walker for our subclass at level 3, so that's not really a choice you have to worry about. And for spell casting, you can pick any spells that you would like as a ranger as well. There's nothing that's too important that we really want. For our fighting style at level 2, we're going to want Druidic Warrior, so we can pick up the cantrips Shillelagh and Guidance. You could do Magic Stone technically, but we want Shillelagh more because we're going to be a bit more melee oriented, and we want to be able to use our Wisdom modifier when attacking with a weapon. That weapon has to be something that is made of wood, like a club or a quarterstaff, and we're going to specifically want a quarterstaff at this point. Also, at Ranger 1, what we'll want to have done is probably kept favorite enemy, so that way we can make our favorite enemies things that are naturally from other planes of existence, like celestials, fiends, aberrations, etc. But we'll probably want to switch out favored terrain for Deft Explorer. Deft Explorer will allow us to be a bit more of a generalist explorer, and that fits better for the theme of someone who is meant to wander throughout the plains and not focus specifically on being really well versed in traveling deserts, forests, swamps, etc. At level 4, we're going to get an ability score improvement or feat, and for that, what we're going to want to pick up is Polearm Master. This will synergize with our Quarterstaff and Shillelagh's spell, or Shillelagh, depending I guess on how you pronounce it. But that'll help us be a bit more combat oriented, since Polar Master gives us a reaction that we can use to make an opportunity attack whenever an enemy enters our reach, which is only 5 feet, but it's still nice to be able to attack when they're moving towards us. And we can also use a bonus action on our turn to attack with the butt of our Quarterstaff. It'll still do a d4, but because Shillelagh's on it, it'll actually be a wisdom modifier. So, now that we know that we've picked Horizon Walker, we know what our choices are at each level where we get an important choice. Or what do we actually get from Horizon Walker? Well, for starters, we can detect portals, which is a nice little feature for us, but really that's going to be really DM dependent and world dependent, and that's not how we want to actually traverse the multiverse. We'll get some special Horizon Walker spell casting, such as Protection from Good and Evil and Misty Step. We're going to miss out on Haste and other higher level spells, unfortunately, because we're only going the first 7 levels into Ranger, but still, we get a couple extra spells, which are nice. We gain the Planar Warrior ability, which says that as a bonus action, we can choose one creature within 30 feet of us, and the next time we hit that creature with a weapon attack, all the damage we deal will become force damage, and they'll take an extra d8 force damage from that attack specifically. This will come in handy, but honestly, between that and our Polar Master attack with our Quarterstaff, we're probably going to want the Quarterstaff attack unless there's one enemy that is really resistant to all damage except force. I'll let you decide as to which bonus action you're going to want to use on your turn. Finally, we also gain Ethereal Step. Ethereal Step allows us to use a bonus action to cast Etherealness. That'll only last until the end of the current turn, but it doesn't use a spell slot. After we use that feature, we can't use it again until we finish a short or long rest. And this is a nice little thematic way of allowing us to enter a different plane of existence without actually having to use a spell slot. It doesn't last long, but for what it's worth, we can now do it, and when we're in the ethereal plane, we can affect creatures and attack creatures that are also in the ethereal plane. Helpful in very niche situations, I suppose. Okay, so now that we know what we're getting from Horizon Walker and levels 1 to 7, it's time to look at levels 8 till 20. I said we were going to go Cleric, and the reason for that is because Cleric is one of the classes that gets access to both Plane Shift and Astral Projection. Now, based on our level breakdown, we're not going to be able to get Astral Projection. That's a 9th level spell, and unfortunately we just won't be able to get 9th level spells as a Cleric. But we can get to Plane Shift, which is only 7th level. So eventually, once we pick up Plane Shift, we'll be able to traverse the planes at will, pretty much, or at least when we cast the spell, and that'll turn us into an actual Astral Wanderer. Our features from Ranger, like the favored enemies, as well as the generalist sort of deft explorer, plus whatever skills we picked up, should be able to help us actually feel like an Astral Wanderer who is the expert on the various planes of the multiverse, and not just keeping enemies from those planes out of the material plane, but actually going and exploring the other planes of existence. Mechanically, though, what are we going to actually get from Cleric? Well, besides our main Plane Shift spell, any Cleric can get that. So our Cleric subclass is kind of up to us to pick which one we want. For the sake of our build, I'm going to say that we're going to go with the Arcana Domain. The Arcana Domain gets a lot of magic-oriented spells, such as Detect Magic, Magic Missile, Magic Weapon, Magic Circle, Dispel Magic, and a whole bunch of other things just as part of an expanded spell list. Plus they gain Arcane Initiate. Arcane Initiate says that when we take the domain at first level, we gain proficiency in the Arcana skill, plus we gain any 2 cantrips of our choice from the Wizard spell list. And for us, these cantrips will count as Cleric cantrips. I'm going to say that we're taking Booming Blade here as one of our cantrips, and the other one can be whatever else we want. The reason for that is because Booming Blade is going to eventually stack with our potent spellcasting ability. The reason I like Booming Blade so much with this build is because we have a powerful Cleric spell like Spirit Guardians up, which is meant to deal damage in an area around us, as well as make that area difficult terrain, making it harder for enemies to move away. We can then, with our own action, use Booming Blade to keep an enemy right in that Spirit Guardian's aura next to us, just constantly taking damage, or if they try to move, still taking even more damage. Obviously, since Booming Blade is a cantrip and we already have extra attack plus our Polearm Master bonus action attack, we could instead just do 3 attacks on a turn, but I'll leave it up to you as to which one of these 2 methods of combat you'd like to go towards. The other things we get from the Arcana Domain Cleric are things like Arcane Abjuration for our Channel Divinity. It works similarly to Turn Undead, only it focuses on Celestials, Elementals, Fays, or Fiends, and instead of destroying undead eventually, it just banishes them. The last couple things we're going to get are our ability score increases / feats. We're going to get one at Cleric 4, one at Cleric 8, and one at Cleric 12. The one at Cleric 4 should probably be devoted to capping our Wisdom at 20, or at least one of them should be. That way we can have a max ability score in the primary ability score that we use for everything pretty much. The other two can be up to you, but I'd recommend Sentinel. The reason being is that the Sentinel feat will pair really well with our combat style of locking down a target. Also, because Polearm Master triggers when an enemy enters our range, we can also pair Sentinel with that Polearm Master reaction. Overall, we actually have a lot of battlefield control in terms of locking down enemies for a character that is meant to be more of a Wanderer character. Alright, so now it's time to look at the build and what we actually have. Well, like I was just saying, we have a very neat mechanical way of locking down enemies one at a time, if not more than one at a time. Spirit Guardians is just a great cleric spell as it is, and we're really able to control the battlefield around us that way. But since we're also melee based and we're using our Wisdom for our melee attacks, that synergizes well, and we can get right up into an enemy's face and either attack them a bunch of times or cast Booming Blade to make it harder for them to escape us. And then even if they do try to escape us, potentially triggering Booming Blade's damage, we also have Sentinel to ensure that they can't get away, assuming we hit, of course. But out of combat, when we're actually exploring or using our skills, we're very specialized and oriented towards the D&D multiverse and the various planes that exist therein. Overall, out of combat, we're certainly going to feel like an Astral Wanderer, and in combat, we're very good at locking down specific enemies, and particularly enemies that are from other planes. Let me know what you thought of the build or what you would do to get closer to the concept of an Astral Wanderer, or as well if there's anything that I've missed that would allow us to travel to different planes at an earlier level rather than having to pick up a 7th and or 9th level spell in order to do so. Thank you for joining me on the journey though, and I hope to see you in the next one.